Let's get it, baby. College football week 13 is finally under wraps. And it's your boy Moon. And we have World of College Football. Today we're going to talk about Kevin Jennings and Magnificent, Cuse getting on the right McCord. Also, holy moly Duke. What's going on, people? Hope you got a chance to experience all of what college football had in store for week 13, including Colorado going down at Arrowhead Stadium. I know that there's some Kansas Jayhawks fans out there already turned and lit with a smile on their face to start this Sunday morning. You already know we love to see it. On today's episode, we're going to talk about how the Spartans kept their bowl eligibility alive. We're going to talk about UTSA and the Roadrunners becoming bowl eligible as well. What's going on in the madness in the Conference USA? A little looking in the Big 12 and the Big 10. But none of it can get started out until I give you this shameless plug. Make sure you check out DCFBNation.com for all of your latest in the college football world. I'm talking about they keep you connected straight to the source, ground level. Check out DCFBNation.com and also use the promo code DCFBNation for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. You know you want to save some money in the holiday season, so why not do that with DCFB Nation? They are the sponsors of World of College Football. Let's get to it, people, because ain't nothing to it but to do it, people. I'm excited. It's a lot to get into on the show, but you know me. World of College Football is all about giving you behind the scenes and more in depth than just the status quo, you know. So let's keep it wavy and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content and it's adding value to you. On a brisk November evening in East Lansing, the Michigan State Spartans delivered a 24-7 victory over the Purdue Boilermakers at Spartan Stadium. And tonight was all about making sure it's a pivotal chapter in Jonathan Smith's debut season because he kept Michigan State's postseason dreams within reach. The people in East Lansing are celebrating because Aiden Childs went 15-31 for 159 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day, and the freshman showcased his composure beyond his years. K'Ron Lynch-Adams, running back for Michigan State, went for 18 carries, 85 yards, providing a steady presence for the Spartans in the backfield. And Purdue's quarterback, Hudson Card, despite the loss, he ended up racking up 342 yards through the air, going 26 for 46 with 1 touchdown. Now, the Boilermakers struck first in this game with a 50-yard field goal from Ben Freehill, but Michigan State answered emphatically, and Aiden Childs found Montori Foster for a 7-yard touchdown, igniting the Spartans' offense. The second quarter belonged entirely to Michigan State, with Jonathan Kim drilling a 43-yard field goal right down the middle. Laser. Nate Carter punched in a 2-yard score, and then the game is starting to feel a little bit different now, man. Childs, Aiden that is, capped off the half with the 20-yard dart to Carter, extending the lead to 24-3. Now, Purdue clawed back in the second half, fueled by Devin Mockabee and his 2-yard touchdown run, and Hudson Card's 7-yard strike to Max Clare in the fourth quarter ended up making the game, let's just say, very spicy. But Michigan State's defense held firm when it mattered the most, denying Purdue late comeback attempt. And the thing that you need to know is the Spartans dominated time and possession, bro. 32 minutes controlling the pace of the game. They allowed Michigan State to just control the tempo and wear down on Purdue's defense. Things that you need to know heading out of this game, Michigan State versus Purdue. Aiden Childs' growth is real, and I know he's a freshman, but he's just maturing with more and more in every start that he has. He has 2 touchdown passes, and his ability to extend plays was monumental in this matchup. K'Ron Lynch-Adams was the workhorse in this contest because his balance helped provide stability to Michigan State's offense. Hudson Card can't do it all by himself because he had 342 passing yards, but the Boilermakers' inability to establish a run until late in the game with Mockabee left them quite one-dimensional. The Spartans defense ended up delivering when it mattered the most. They bended but did not break, and they forced 2 turnovers on the day. And, you just got to give shout outs when shout outs due. Shout out to Ed Woods, who ended up leading the way with 9 tackles on the day and 2 pass breakups. Last but not least, Jonathan Smith, man. Jonathan Smith needs one more win to secure bowl eligibility, with the Spartans sitting at 5-6. And they're building momentum at the right time in a interesting Big Ten conference that we have. Now, my final thoughts: Purdue drops to 1-10 on the season, and the rebuilding process under Ryan Walters is just like, it has its growing pains. I don't want to just kick Purdue while they're down, but I would say that the second half of this game was the Purdue that I want to see more of. They got to figure out where they want to go with recruiting, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, my friends. Spartans get the job done 24-17 over Big Purdue. What's wavy? It's your boy Moon. You tuning in the world of college football, my podcast on the CFB Nation platform. Special shout out to the CFB Nation. They make sure you hold you down, take care of you quite massively, quite swell. And we taking care of you on this Sunday morning. Easy like Sunday morning. All right. There was other major news that happened in college football, but it's not in one of these Power 5 conferences that you know of. I'm talking about on Friday night in San Antonio. They say Texas is where football dreams run wild, and on this night, Friday that is, in San Antonio, the UTSA Road Runners sprinted past Temple 51-27 in a game that had fireworks all galore. The top performer in this game that you need to know heading out is Robert Henry. He was the heartbeat of UTSA, University of Texas in San Antonio. In their offense, he carved up Temple. He had 178 rushing yards on the day, 2 touchdowns, and he only toted the ball 16 times, people. His 40-yard dash to the end zone in the first quarter got the game going. His 88-yard explosion later in the game brought the crowd to their feet. And San Antonio was over here like, man, can we get bowl eligible on a day like this? Well, let's just say he wasn't the only one taking his talents and showing off the scooties and the wheels today. Owen McCown showcased his dual threat ability, throwing for 220 yards, and he rushed for a jaw-dropping 75-yard touchdown in the second quarter, showing off the wheels. For Temple, Dante Wright was the lone bright spot. He hauled in 5 receptions for 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a 61-yard bomb in the third quarter that kind of put a little dent in UTSA's momentum. But the things that you need to know coming out of this game between UTSA and Temple, UTSA overwhelmed them boys on the ground. It was just crazy. 7.9 yards per carry. It's just masterful, people. Masterful. We even saw Owen McCown get busy and show off the wheels. Now, when it comes to defense, in the defensive statement, UTSA's defense, they got immersed into it. They made Evan Simon's life miserable from the jump street. Jamori Robinson, he led the charge with 7 tackles on the day, including 4.5 tackles for a loss. You heard that correctly. He ended up, the unit racked up 9 tackles for a loss together, collectively. That shows the strength of this UTSA team. Other than that, it was a big play bonanza. We had Chris Carpenter had a 97-yard kickoff return in this game. Owen McCown had a 75-yard showing off the wheels. And even Robert Henry got busy. It was just big plays galore. And that's what you love to see in college football. That's what you love to see. Temple, the struggles keep persisting. And the main struggle that Temple keeps going through, people, is third down efficiency. Third downs, man. When you go 2 of 15 on third down, there's no way that you're going to win a game. Evan Simon had 2 interceptions, and they couldn't stop the bleeding that was going on. And, we got to give love to the kicker boys when kicker boys do money things. But shout out to Sandell, kicker boy. He ended up connecting from 47 and 42 yards. And he ultimately went 3 of 3 on field goals to keep the Road Runners ahead. UTSA gets a dub and becomes bowl eligible, people. Shout out to San Antonio. We are only just getting started. We are just getting started, people. That was just a little appetizer. It's a little appetizer with Slavey. It's your boy Moon. Happy Sunday. I know college football yesterday was absolutely golden. because this is the golden years of college football. These are the times that we used to pray for, and we're happy to get a chance to experience it. Special shout out to DCFB Nation. And if you use the promo code DCFB Nation on your first SeatGeek purchase, you can save some money, because who doesn't like to save some money during the holiday season? Let's get it popped off with more controversy, but this time we're going to go to the conference that has a lot of spiciness going on right now, people. I'm talking about the pulse of the ACC. Where was Moon at this week on week 13 of the College Football Nation Tour? Well, I got a chance to go to NC State, traveling to Atlanta, Georgia for Bobby Dodd's finest, Georgia Tech, coming at home on senior day. It was a beautiful experience. I was on the field. I got a chance to be fully immersed into senior night for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech ended up surviving 30-29 in an electrifying game. The crowd was all out. You see the rally towels was going crazy. It was very brisk on a November night, so it was a lot to say, but this game was all about freshmen. I mean, if you're an NC State fan, you have to be just sitting back with a mimosa, sipping a mimosa with your pinky up, saying, I can't have anything go wrong right now. Even though we took this loss in this game, you have to look forward to the future and say, CJ Bailey is my quarterback. I know we had a tumultuous season with Grayson McCall and him having to retire early due to head injuries. Actually got to talk to Miss Annabelle about that. And like, she even told me that CJ Bailey is the future. He is the future. He got a chance to show that. He had 3 interceptions in the game, and I understand people want to knock on it, but you have to watch the game in order to see how the game ended up going and why those interceptions happened. But he also had 3 touchdowns as well, showing off his wheels that electrified the NC State crowd that was in attendance. And he showcased that not only can he be a quarterback of the future, but Dave Duren, Robert Anai, and this NC State team, they really have to go into this offseason of recruiting with this one mindset. We can go for big fish now because we have a quarterback. When you're trying to solve that position, it's hard. It looks like they have the answer. I love seeing CJ Bailey on the sidelines, cheesing the entire time. He was into it with his coaching staff, not in a negative way at all. Like, he was locked in with them, like giving them what he wanted, and you could just see the chemistry growing and glowing, like, on the sidelines. Now, as far as Georgia Tech side, Georgia Tech ended up getting the win 30-29, and Aaron Philo ended up doing his best and marvelous performance. Aaron Philo is a quarterback freshman for Georgia Tech, and if you watched him play, you would not think that he is a freshman. He ended up coming and getting an 18-yard touchdown that sealed the deal for the Jackets at the end of the game. That just had Bobby Dodd in a frenzy. Now, Aaron Philo is getting more playing time because Haynes King is dealing with shoulder injury, and he's just banged up right now. So it's made Georgia Tech have to rely on a multiple quarterback system in order to get the job done. And they did get the job done. Georgia Tech ended up winning, going undefeated for the first time since 1999. So shout out to Tech, clap it up for Tech. They've been bowl eligible, but this is adding and stacking to the next season with 2025 right around the horizon. And I mean, if we get to see this duel between Aaron Philo and CJ Bailey again in the future multiple times, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that right there will make me a happy camper, and I love to see it. In other news, in the ACC, the CFB Nation Tour went to Georgia Tech for that game, but that was on a Thursday. This Saturday, ACC football went absolutely crazy. Let's talk to you first about Kevin Jennings the Magnificent. Virginia ended up falling flat on their face versus SMU, and Virginia's offense never got going. They lost 33-7 to SMU. And the guy that I'm about to talk about, Kevin Jennings, put on an absolute clinic for the Mustangs. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, commanded the offense, and the jerseys were absolutely priceless. I love the all black drip with the blue fonts. It's just crazy for SMU. Now, the Cavaliers, they only managed to get in the game because of a late score. But Anthony Colangea, he struggled because they could not protect him. SMU clearly had the talent mismatch. And SMU's defense taking that next step up as far as pressure rate, tackles for a loss is exactly what you want to see. If you are a Mustangs fan, hoping that we can not only be in the conference championship, because it got confirmed that SMU is in the conference championship. They will be playing in the ACC championship. But you trying to win that game and prove to the committee that y'all have been shading us this entire time. SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, I call him Kevin Jennings the Magnificent. Ever since he took over, every week has been another opportunity for him to get better and better. He had some moments throughout the season where it really challenged him in his growth. But the way he's been bouncing back and responding is exactly what you want to see if you are the signal caller in Red Lashley, and that's dialing up plays. Anybody can get the rock. Anybody can go crazy. They have too many playmakers on their team, and it is mind-boggling to me that SMU in the first year in their conference, the first year in the ACC, is playing in the conference championship, people. Let that sink in on this beautiful Sunday morning. Coming up next, Cal in the game. They pulled out a comeback over Stanford in a dramatic finish, people. They surged past Stanford 24-21, and Fernando Mendoza was the hero, throwing 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to Jonathan Brady, including the game winner. With 3 minutes remaining in the game, and Cal's defense clamped up in the second half and got their job done. It started off shaky. Him and Mosley is just a beast, bro, for Stanford. It started off rocky, 14-0 hole, but they were able to capture the rivalry victory for Cal and the Golden Bears. This is important. If you saw the post-game interview Fernando Mendoza had, you just had to get goosebumps, because this is the reason why we love college football. He gave glory to God. He gave glory to his teammates. He was just like so happy, literally in tears. And when you talk about where we are right now for the season with Cal, with their first year in the ACC, I would say job well done, given everything y'all had to endure, everything y'all had to go through, and the fact that it was senior day. They got a chance to send their seniors on in the right way. So major shout out to Cal, 24-21 victors over Stanford. In other news, in ACC play coming up on this wonderful Saturday of college football, did you know that Florida State ended up putting up 41 points, people? Who did they play, Moon? They played Charleston Southern. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Honestly, I didn't think that this Florida State team had the capacity to score 41 points. So I sat back and when I was prepping and doing my notes, I said, you have to be kidding me. Albeit, it's Charleston Southern, but Luke Kromenek, his precision, man, he was on the money yesterday. He had a type of jump to his passes, bro. It came out of his hand like a rocket launcher in some of these throws, and he was out there dialing it up. He had 3 touchdowns on the day, a 71-yard bomb to Zakai Douglas, who got active, and the Seminoles defense was very much unyielding, giving up only a single touchdown to Charleston Southern. The game started off pretty slow, I will admit that, but it started to get picked up as they started to get the rhythm, and albeit it's Charleston Southern, but Florida State had to get some type of thing going, right? And they finally get to the end of the season before they got to play Florida this upcoming week. They're hoping on an upset. The way Florida just looked against Ole Miss, I mean, talk about spicy. Florida State 41, Charleston Southern 7. Coming up next, Syracuse ended up hosting UConn in a matchup that was spicy. I mean, spicy. We already know that Jim Moore's team was going to be very much so relentless coming into this matchup with a very good record on the season. They've been playing good ball, and they're going bowling, so in my opinion, I'm expecting UConn to give Syracuse every bit of the smoke. And that's exactly what happened, because UConn barely lost 31-24, but Kyle McCord, Cuse is on the right McCord, because Kyle ended up going stupid today. 2 touchdowns on the day. He had over 400 yards on the day. And Syracuse's defense made critical stops, bro. Like, you have to get stops. Some of these possessions ended up like not what Fran Brown wanted at all. However, I do have to give a shout out to Cam Edwards, because he had a 71-yard touchdown run, but they ultimately ended up falling short in the final minutes. Now, if you're Fran Brown, all eyes now move forward to the shower, because you can actually go take a shower this week because you got a dub. Then after that, your shift actually goes to Miami, because Miami comes into town this upcoming week. And man, the ACC, Clemson, the next team I'll talk about in a second, in about 15 seconds, has a chance to win and hope for a prayer and living on a prayer that Syracuse can get the job done against Miami. But let's talk about the team that I just mentioned, Clemson. Clemson in the orange Tigers. Let's just say that the game was over with before we even got kicked off. I expected the Citadel to come out and fight, but I mean, 51-14 versus the Citadel is an offensive explosion that we love to see. Antonio Williams got the game kicked off early. Cade Klubnik was airing it out all over the yard. He had multiple touchdowns. Brian Wesco got busy on a long touchdown where he hit a spin move like he hit the B button in NCAA football 25. Antonio Williams, I mentioned him already earlier, but he's been consistent week in and week out for the wide receiver core for Clemson, and that's what you love to see. That's what you love to see. Jay Haynes even got some action, and I don't know why they didn't give him more playing time over the course of the season, but Jay Haynes dominated on the ground too with 2 rushing scores. And we had a big belly touchdown, man. Peyton Pages, he got a pick 6, and that highlighted a defensive effort that was quite stellar for the Clemson Tigers. Now, Clemson, they have a game against South Carolina this week at home in the Valley. All eyes will be on that game because South Carolina just put hands and feet yesterday on Wofford, and this matchup just sets in to be a battle for the state of South Carolina, man. Massive. Now, Clemson has to win and hope for Miami, the next team that I'll talk about, to lose to Syracuse in order for us to have wildness in the ACC, and Clemson playing in the ACC championship against SMU. Let's take a look at Miami, because we all wanted to know what Miami would look like coming up after a bye. And the last time we got a chance to see Miami, Cam Ward was getting strip sacked by the Georgia Tech defense, and it was all she wrote. Next thing you know, we have a bye week. We don't hear from Miami anymore. And then we get a chance to see how they would hold up against Wake Forest, because Demon Deacons came to town, and the beginning of the game was very close. Like, it was very much close. Wake Forest runs the walk offense, where it's very much so a slower pace, and they try to like have multiple RPO concepts, run pass options, for those that don't know what an RPO is. And they made the game interesting for a couple of series specifically, where I said, dang, Miami, like, what's going on? It wasn't until late in the game that Miami started to pull away and getting a 42-14 victory over Wake Forest. But Cam Ward was the orchestrator of the Hurricanes offense, and he did it with precision. He did it throwing multiple touchdowns, and he even had a rushing score on the day, which is what you would love to see. The defense for Miami held strong and weathered the storm, no pun intended. And Michelle Powell had a 76-yard pick 6 that set the tone early in the game, that got Miami fans believing that we can actually bounce back from this bye week. Now, notable mention is Damon Claiborne. Damon Claiborne's kickoff return for Wake was a bright spot for this game. They tried to give him the ball quite a bit, but Miami's defense, there was too much. and Miami got the win 42-14 at home in Coral Gables. Miami goes to Syracuse, like I mentioned before, and they essentially win, and you're in the ACC championship. Lose, and Clemson is in the ACC championship, taking on SMU. SMU punched their ticket this past week over Virginia, where they just dominated UVA. But there was other madness that's going on in the ACC because, you know, it's nonstop, people, nonstop. Did you know that Boston College, they soared to victory after a week of controversy with Thomas Castellanos hitting the transfer portal. It was quite the day for Grayson James, who showcased a dual threat performance in this matchup. Boston College got the win, 41-21, in a victory that was powered by just explosion for real. Passing strike the Reed Harris for Grayson James. Ryan Turner had a pick six in this game that just made it hard for UNC to get any type of momentum working in their favor. Boston College's defense needs more respect from around the nation. They already have Donovan that's going crazy on the edge, that's having the season of a lifetime. Then you have UNC, who I totally was expecting to come into this game and run the gosh darn football. That's the motto of the show. That's what we need to have as merch. Run the gosh darn football. Because they have one of the best backs in the country in Amarion Hampton. So you would think, hey, Moly, UNC's game plan has to be to run the route. Well, none of that energy got popping on this Saturday's contest because BC said, clamp, not happening. On the outside, clamp, and we're going to put the ball in Grayson James' hands, and we're going to trust him. And now the decision that Thomas Castellanos had to leave is like, we got something with Grayson. Boston College fans will tell you, hell yeah, we got something with Grayson. Excuse my language on a Sunday morning. But hell yeah, they got something with Grayson. For sure. But it was not a good effort for UNC and the Tar Heels, especially after last week, where things was quite high after the win in Chapel Hill, and Mario Henry had himself an amazing day. Boy, how the tides can turn very fast in college football. And speaking of that, let's get into the last one. Well, one of the last ones that we got to get into. Louisville, L's up, baby. Last week, Louisville was the butt of every single joke around the nation. Why? Because they went to Stanford and they lost because their team choked. They have fourth down that they went for it, gave the ball back to Stanford. Stanford drives down the field, gets multiple penalties working in their favor, including a late hit out of bounds that worked in their favor. They also had offsides on a potential kick, and it just gave Stanford the win. Now, this version of Louisville is exactly what I want to see. This version of Louisville is all about explosion. Now, let's talk about why. Isaac Brown is an absolute monster. He came back after being banged up, and quite frankly, he didn't look banged up to me. Two-way effort from Isaac Brown is what you would love to see. And Tyler Shuck, he was depressing, man. He had multiple scores in this game. He did a great job of just distributing the ball. He got his rhythm with Jacory Brooks continuing to grow. Jacory Brooks is a dog, I'm trying to tell you. But I mean, they held Pitt to a single touchdown, people. And I hate to be the person of bad news because I don't want to be that guy. But this is not the same Pitt that started the year off. And prayers up to their quarterback because it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like a dark cloud over that, man, as far as injuries. You had Nate Yarnell come into the game, but he wasn't any better. And Pitt only scored a single touchdown, and Louisville got things going fast. When you watch the highlights, all you're going to see is explosive, over the top. Big play for a touchdown. 80 plus yards. They were going crazy. Shout out to Louisville. 37-9 victory over Pittsburgh and the Panthers. Louisville, way to bounce back, man. In other news, I want to give an honorable mention because holy moly, Duke ended up winning versus Virginia Tech last night, culminating all of the ACC festivities on the day, and it was a bright spot. I mean, Malik Murphy started off the game on fire. He said, you know what, I'm going to penkle over the top, dropping in the bucket. Oh, you want to guard him one-on-one on that side outside? All right. Whoop. Throw it over to the sideline. Let him make a play. Oh, you want to try to guard him one-on-one in the end zone? All right, cool. Whoop. Just throw it over, make a catch. It was definitely moments in the game where Duke had to weather the storm. And it's going to be like that in every single ACC game that's played this season because everybody is chasing greatness. Now, the one thing I did love to see is Duke's defense start to turn the pressure up. They would have had over 13, 14 tackles for a loss if everything worked out in their favor and they didn't get into weird positions. Virginia Tech, on their side, they had to deal with multiple quarterbacks, and it's like the backup, like, we can't put it all on him. We can't really put it all on him at all. Rachel Tootin ended up scoring in this game. And you know, we needed him to go crazy. He is the life for this offense, in my opinion. And I feel like Virginia Tech is starting to get away from what makes them great. Virginia Tech plays great defense. They block in and have great defense, and they run the gosh darn football. And they're starting to get away from that. It's hard to do that when you start the game off in a deficit. So it's kind of like game plan went out of the window for real. But for this game and on this day, Duke ended up getting the job done. And ACC Huddle was out there, so special shout out to them. I watch ACC Huddle faithfully. They are the culmination of my night every week when I'm on tour for CFB Nation. You know, I'm usually like writing some articles, trying to catch up on all the stuff around the nation, and I watch ACC Huddle faithfully. They're like my end of the day thing, like, hey, Moon, you finally made it to the end of another week. And that is amazing, bro. That is amazing. Special shout out to you and yours. Happy Sunday, people. We know NFL is about to kick off. NFL, whatever. We talking about college football, the granddaddy of them all. And there was a lot of controversy that happened in college football yesterday. We just went down the list of the ACC, and I gave you all that you need to know in the ACC. I also talked to you about UTSA becoming bowl eligible with their win over Temple, 51-27. I talked to you about Jonathan Smith keeping Michigan State's bowl hopes alive, and they got a 24-17 gritty win in Big Ten play over Purdue. And we only 30 minutes into the show. We still got another 30 to go, and plenty for you to know. Special shout out to DCFB Nation, and if you use the promo code DCFB Nation on SeatGeek, you can get $20 off your first purchase. Who doesn't like to save some money, man? Especially in the holiday season. Use that promo code DCFB Nation. But let's get back to it, because you know what time it is. Around the world, I'm gonna give you all of what's going on in the Conference USA in 5 minutes or less. The final week of the regular season action in the Conference USA provided a mix of dominance, drama, and clarity as the championship picture starts to clear up. And I'm about to give you a breakdown of all of what Week 13 had to offer, starting with UTEP. What happened? They went to Knoxville, Tennessee, and this one was as lopsided as it could possibly get, bro. UTEP was shut out 56-0. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. And Nico just basically sliced them boys up. Nico threw for 4 touchdowns on the day, while Peyton Lewis and Dylan Sampson ran wild on UTEP. Tennessee put up 28 points in the second quarter alone by themselves, and they showcased their depth, their dominance, and just their talent discrepancy. The Miners, they never found an answer, and they couldn't get anything going on the ground or in the air. And Tennessee, ended up being victorious. It's a tough task going to Knoxville. UTEP in a single point, 56-0. Tennessee wins. In other news in the Conference USA, Western Kentucky ended up putting in their best effort, but it wasn't enough in Lynchburg, Virginia, because Liberty stayed hot. They stayed very hot with their balanced offensive effort and a lights-out performance by their defense. Caden Salter and Quentin Cooley were the standouts. Liberty jumped up to a 21-0 lead over them boys, and it was treacherous territory for Western Kentucky. But they ended up rallying back. Western Kentucky did, and Big Red would have been happy. But they couldn't climb all the way back, and that was the difference in this matchup. Colin Harvey capped the game off with a late field goal and a rushing touchdown to ice it. And next thing you know, Liberty is running the victory. The thing that you need to know from this matchup by itself, Liberty dominated on the ground. I mean, dominated Western Kentucky on the ground. In other news around the Conference USA, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Middle Tennessee State actually hosted New Mexico State, and I was kind of undecided on who I was going to go with in this matchup. But the Aggies ended up playing spoiler on the road, and they used turnovers and special teams to get a major dub and secure a road win over the Blue Raiders. Now, Dylan Early, he had a 30-yard pick six that set the tone early, and Seth McGowan's touchdown reception in the third quarter gave New Mexico State all the life that they needed and some added breathing room. And despite a spirited comeback attempt by the Middle Tennessee State Raiders, I rock with them because I've seen them up close in person this year when they played Jacksonville State on the CFB Nation Tour. Nicholas, I call him Nicky V, and Middle Tennessee State in the fourth quarter, it wasn't enough. New Mexico State, they had some standouts in this game. Notable Abraham Montano, who was a kicker for them, made a clutch field goal towards the end to give them the little jump. And then from there, it was too much out of reach. And the Blue Raiders, their main reason why they lost is because of the red zone. They struggle in the red zone, turning points. You can't beat New Mexico State being in a situation where you can't convert in the red zone. Coming up next, Kennesaw State ended up getting a major dub, 27-26 for their second win of the season. And man, they edged out FIU on the game-winning 19-yard field goal by Austin Welch. And kicker boys get love on this show. FIU's Keon Jenkins ended up putting up a valiant effort, tossing 3 touchdowns on the day. And Eric Rivers continues to ball out. Eric Rivers, if you haven't been watching FIU this season, Eric Rivers is a problem. Like, bro, a problem. Governor, Eric Rivers is a problem, Governor. He needs to be talked about. Davis Bryson and Kennesaw State rushing attack, they were dominant today. Dominant. And that's what gave the edge to Kennesaw State to push them over the top. You know, the college football gods, they reward teams that play good defense and run a God-style football. And that's what just happened in this game. Shout out to Kennesaw State. Went number 2 on the season. And it's crazy, but they have a lot of controversy going on. I do not agree with the fact that they fired their head coach. I do not agree with that whatsoever. This man led y'all from y'all program's conception in football to where they are right now. You don't just give up on him just because things get a little rocky and you're trying to find your footing in the jam-packed Conference USA, where the talent is gapped from your team to the rest of the teams is like already this wide. Just to start the year off. Just be patient, and they wasn't patient. And kind of goes back to what's going on with Kennesaw State, but they did get a win, 27-26 over FIU. Shout out Kennesaw State. Other news in the Conference USA, because my time is getting slow. Fayetteville, Arkansas, Taylor Green. It was a Taylor Green show. Louisiana Tech hung around. Tough for about a half in this game versus Arkansas or Arky, but the Razorbacks ended up pulling away. And man, Taylor Green, 4 touchdowns on the day. 4. 2 on the ground, 2 in the air. Arkansas's defense made life miserable for Louisiana Tech's offense for most of the game. And Evan Bullock, he did have 2 touchdown passes in the game for the Bulldogs, but they just can't keep up with Arizona. The depth and the athleticism alone was more than evident to see in this matchup. Arkansas 35, Louisiana Tech 14. In other news, last but not least, Jacksonville State, baby. Jacksonville, Alabama hosted a playoff-like type atmosphere and saw Jacksonville State clinch its first berth in the Conference USA Championship game with a hard-fought win over Sam Houston. Tyler Huff carried the Gamehawk on his back with all 3 of their touchdowns, and he used his legs to punish the Bearcats defense the most. The game broke open because of the second quarter push on Jacksonville State, and from there, it's all she wrote, man. Jacksonville State continues to showcase why they're one of the top teams in the Conference USA. They already beat Liberty. They already beat Sam Houston. They are playing in the Conference USA Championship, people. And your boy Moon just might be there. Jacksonville State's a friend of the network for sure. So that's amazing. I gotta give a special clap it up to them because Rich Rod. Congratulations, my dog. That's the pulse of the Sun Belt and what's going on in the Conference USA, my bad. Now, these are the implications. Jacksonville State was going to be playing for the title. Liberty, they won over Western Kentucky, and this is going to be setting up for the championship clash. Now, both of these teams, Liberty and Jacksonville State, been cream of the crop for the entire year and all season long. Even in the matchup that we saw Jacksonville State go to Liberty and they beat them, like, I'm excited. I'm still picking Jacksonville State. I just think that when you can run the ball efficiently and play good defense, you're going to have the recipe to win. But it makes things quite murky when you see the way Liberty ran the rock this past Saturday. I'll make my picks later on officially as we get closer to the Conference USA Championship game. But some of the key takeaways, if they were giving out a Conference USA MVP for the season, no, it would not go to Caden Salter. In my opinion, it should go to Tyler Huff for Jacksonville State, his quarterback, because he's been the catalyst for that championship push, and he's been using his arm and his leg to dominate. And that's really Jacksonville State's bread and butter. Now, let's talk about Liberty. They've been getting some momentum with Caden Salter and Quentin Cooley peaking at the right time. Things are pretty weird and ugly for that Kennesaw State game where Liberty just fell. In fact, the last couple of weeks for Liberty has been like, what's going on? But they seem to be figuring it out. Sam Houston State, despite a strong season, the Bearcats offense, I hate to say it, but it just faltered when it mattered the most. And that part is where they'll look to next season and really in bowl season as a way that they can kind of right the ship. Middle Tennessee State keeps missing opportunities, and their inconsistency in the red zone this year has plagued them. It has been an Achilles heel all season long, and week 13 was no different in this story. And last but not least, UTEP rebuild continues. The University of Texas in El Paso, they keep struggling specifically on defense, and the way Tennessee just clobbered them boys, they're going to have to look in the mirror. It's already a lot of things going on in this conference because of just the madness that we have. But, man, shout out to Rich Rod. What's wavy? It's your boy Moon. You're watching World of College Football on a beautiful Sunday, easy like Sunday morning. And Ohio State blasted Indiana. Notre Dame blows past Army. Arizona State wins a crazy one in Tempe, Arizona. And the Kansas Jayhawks upset the Colorado Buffaloes. All of this happened on a crazy Saturday in college football. This is why we love college football, man. College football is so crazy. We love to see it. I still got about 15 minutes in showtime. So while we still got a chance to go crazy, special shout out to DCLP Nation. You can check out DCLPNation.com for all your latest. And special shout out to our sponsor of the show, SeatGeek. They hold me down. You know, Moon loves to look at teams that nobody else is paying attention to. That's why this week I got a chance to pay attention to a lot of FCS games so that you don't have to. You know, that's the beauty of this show. paying attention to the game, so you don't got to. I'm about to give you some of the things that happened in the FCS world because it delivered show-stopping highlights, miracle performances, and key rivalries that set the tone for SES comp. Because D2 playoffs are starting. Yes. SES is getting closer and closer to the thick of things. Well, their playoffs about to kick off. Got to stay informed. Let's start it off with Idaho. Did you know that Idaho showed no mercy, putting up 40 points over their rival, Idaho State, and Jack Lane? Man, he went crazy. His passing, ground game, like, it was going crazy, man. They had a kickoff return by Andrew Marshall that just put the game already in their favor. And then from that point, Jack Lane just went crazy. He had 3 touchdowns, 41-yard strike to Emerson Cortez Menjivar, setting the tone early. Hey, Emerson, if you see this, man, and I butchered your last name, write in the comments, bro. Say, hey, Moly, you grilled that, bro. But he went crazy. Idaho's defense just suffocated the Bengals, forcing them to play catch up from the jump, and they couldn't keep up. Idaho, 40-17, Idaho State. UC Davis ended up having a shootout thriller. They won 42-39 over Sacramento State, and Land Larison was the hero, scampering for a 59-yard touchdown in crunch time to seal the deal. Sacramento State pushed back relentlessly, and this game was very close to the wire. But UC Davis's balanced attack and timely defensive stops proved to be too much for Sacramento State to overcome. This one had everything: explosive plays, lead changes, and a finish that left fans breathless. In other news in the FCS, Tennessee State ended up holding off SEMO, Southeast Missouri, 28-21 behind a first quarter surge and a dagger touchdown run by Jaden Ellis. SEMO's late rally fell short as Tennessee State's defense held strong in the fourth quarter. Keandre Booker, he had a fumble return, highlighted in the first half of just domination. And SEMO, Southeast Missouri, just simply couldn't overcome this. Tennessee State, 28. SEMO, 21. Portland State ended up rolling past Northern Colorado because 45 points was just too much to have to overcome. And this is kind of the sign of things to come with these playoffs about to start. Quincy Craig, he powered the run game. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. And Christian Grubb and Elias Spence added their own fireworks. And Northern Colorado got dismantled by Portland State. And Northern Colorado just couldn't find any rhythm in this game. 45, Portland State. Northern Colorado, 13. Stephen F. Austin. Yeah, they play football out there. They play Abilene Christian in Texas. And on Texas. The Lumberjacks turned up the heat in this matchup, defeating Abilene Christian 32-19, and Gavin Reffers spread the 12th, tossing 2 touchdown passes, a 69-yard bomb to Colin Harris. SFA's defense, Stephen F. Austin, had clutch stops, stifling Abilene Christian's comeback attempt. And this win is massive because this makes Stephen F. Austin close the season out on an absolute high note. Love to see it. In other news in the FCS, South Dakota State, powered by Missouri State, and the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State flexed their muscle, man. 45-9 dominant win over Missouri State. Amari Johnson and Kirby Voorhees combined for 3 rushing touchdowns to lead the charge, and Mark Gronkowski added 2 touchdowns through the air. People, South Dakota State's defense was relentless too. They only allowed 3 field goals on the day. South Dakota State, 45. Missouri State, 9. Mercer, right down the street from me. Mercer, they ran away with a 49-23 victory over Furman, thanks to a balanced attack led by Whit Neubauer's 4 total touchdowns on the day. Ajate Dabbs was a menace in the passing game. He ended up reeling in 2 touchdown catches, which you love to see, and a 46-yarder that broke this game wide open, people. Furman couldn't keep up with Mercer's offensive rhythm, and the Bears, 49, Furman, 23. Getting down to the nitty gritty, let's talk to it. Houston Christian ended up beating Northwestern State 62-24. A 98-yard kickoff return by Jesse Valenzuela ended up putting the crowd on their feet. Houston Christian stand up. Weber State beat Cal Poly 28-7, and Kyle Thompson's stellar kicking and Davion Godley's electric 25-yard touchdown run was all that they needed to get over the hump of Cal Poly. And last but not least, Northern Arizona ended up beating Eastern Washington 30-18, where Ty Pennington led the charge with a 75-yard touchdown bomb. It added a 12-yard score late that put the game out of reach. Eastern Washington's miscues is the thing that stands out. Watching the tape for this matchup, I was like, man, it came down to a 2-point conversion that was failed, similar to the Texas A&M game. So, hey, that's a little bit about what's going on in the post of FCS Idaho. Shout out to you. Tennessee State, shout out to y'all. What's wavy? It's your boy Moon. Tune in to the World of College Football, where I am a credentialed media member, and I get a chance to travel the college football world every week of this beautiful season with the help of CFB Nation. And being a credentialed media member, I got a chance to see these games up close and personal, but I'm a sicko, man, so I really like to take it overdrive. That's why y'all get this show, World of College Football, because we talk about any and everybody that's going on in the college football world. FCS team need loves too. The Division II needs love. All the Group of 5 conferences need love. That's why, with 9 minutes left to go on the show, we got a rapid fire. Because I got to tell you what happened in the Big 12, baby. Let's get it. This is the pulse of the Big 12 for Week 13. It delivered in every way, shape, and form. Fireworks, unexpected twists. Did I say fireworks? Let's just get it started off. Because look, somebody's playoff hopes are hanging on by a thread. Meanwhile, other teams' playoff hopes is just a smile on their face. They happy right now. Let's get it popped off because Iowa State got a win 31-28 over Utah. The Cyclones edged out Utah in a thrilling battle where momentum shifts were going back and forth, and it was all about clutch late game performance. Utah blocked the punt for a touchdown early in the fourth quarter to take the lead, and Iowa State's Carter Hansen responded with a 3-yard decisive touchdown run to secure the victory. And defensively, Iowa State beat, but they did not break people. They did not break. They stifled Utah's comeback attempt with key stops down the stretch. The key player that you need to know from this matchup is Carter Hansen. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, including the game winner, and he epitomized the reliability that you need to have in order to win in crunch time. Shout out to Iowa State and the Cyclones, 31, Utah 28. In other news in the Big 12, Baylor ended up winning 20-10 in a gritty, low-scoring affair. Baylor leaned on their defense, and what matters the most is defense and trying to run the gosh darn football. The kicker, Isaiah Hankins, he had a 50-yarder in this matchup in the fourth quarter that iced this game out of reach. And Houston, they just struggled to generate any type of offensive rhythm in this matchup. Their only touchdown came from a defensive pick 6 in this matchup. And Baylor's Sawyer Robertson played with a steady hand, even though it wasn't too crazy and out of control. He had 2 touchdown passes to maintain, a rhythm. But the key player you need to know in this matchup for Baylor is Isaiah Hankins, because he was a perfect 2 of 2 on field goals, including a clutch 50-yarder that made this game over the top. Baylor 20, Houston 10. West Virginia hosted UCF in a late season contest where CJ Donaldson Jr. went crazy with a punishing ground attack, and he set the tone early with 2 first-half touchdowns, rushing the football. Teams can be successful when they run the gosh darn football, man. And the Mountaineers' defense, they held firm in key moments. R.J. Harvey still had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he had over 100-plus yards. But UCF couldn't overcome their early mistakes. The player that you need to know out of this West Virginia UCF game, CJ Donaldson Jr. 2 rushing touchdowns, An unstoppable presence in short yard situations for West Virginia. West Virginia, 31, UCF, 21. Texas Tech ended up putting up 56 points, bro, over Oklahoma State, who scored 48. This game had it all. Offensive explosions, turnovers, down to the wire finish. Taj Brooks ended up carrying Texas Tech to victory, racking up 133 rushing yards in this matchup and 3 total touchdowns. Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon, he tried to match him stride for stride, and we saw like a high premier running back matchup in this one. Ollie Gordon had 156 and 3 touchdowns by himself. But Jacob Rodriguez, his fumble return for a touchdown sealed their fate. And Texas Tech won 56-48 over the Red Raiders. Key player, Taj Brooks. He was a force on the ground, man. A force. 133 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns in the day. Shout out to Taji. TCU put up 49 on Arizona, who scored 28, and TCU flexes offensive muscle. They raced out to a 14-0 lead, and they never looked back. Trent Battle, Savion Williams accounted for 3 touchdowns in the first half. Josh Hoover delivered through the air, which you love to see, including a 38-yard strike to J.P. Richardson, who's coming on this season. And Arizona tried to rally behind Noah Fafita, but the Horned Frogs' defensive pressure was too much to overcome. Key player you need to know in this matchup, Josh Hoover, of course, quarterback for TCU, but Trent Battle scored twice on the ground, setting the tone early for TCU. Shout out to them. The Kansas Jayhawks and Devin Neal, you don't get your minute to shine. Let's go. Kansas 37, Colorado 21. The Jayhawks pulled off the upset, people, and probably one of the upsets of the week, knocking off 16th-ranked Buffaloes with a dominant performance on the ground. Devin Neal put in on clinic, 4 touchdowns total, a 51-yard scamper just to open the game off. And from there, they just pounded Colorado by running the gosh darn football and having a game plan of just physicality. Travis Hunter had 2 scores by himself, but he alone couldn't match Kansas's physicality up front. Side note, there was a dirty hit in this game on Shedeur Sanders that I cannot stand, bro. When I saw it live, I was so upset because I genuinely thought he hurt Shedeur. That's one. The other side note, man, can we get Kansas playing in Arrowhead more often? I know they're dealing with their own renovation to the stadium and everything, but bro, the vibe and the atmosphere at Arrowhead for this matchup was insane. Notable player that you need to know is Devin Neal. He had 4 total touchdowns and over 100 scrimmage yards in this statement performance. Kansas 37, Colorado 31. And last but not least, because you know I can't forget about you, Arizona State fans rushed the field after a 28-23 victory over BYU, and perhaps the most surprising result of the week because Arizona State toppled the 14th ranked BYU Cougars, and Cam Scottibo dominated in the first half with 3 rushing touchdowns on the day, helping the Sun Devils jump to a commanding 21-0 lead. BYU tried to fight back with Jake Retzlaff and Keelan Marion's 2 late scores, but bro, 2-point conversion failures ended up proving costly, and that's probably one of the nuggets of this week. 2-point conversion failures. Key player on the day, Cam Scottibo, 3 rushing touchdowns and over 100 yards on the ground. Love to see it, man. Arizona State stormed the field prematurely, and then they stormed the field again. And Arizona State, man, put up a crazy performance, 28-23. Big 12 MVPs of the week from Moon. Devin Neal, Kansas, he had 4 touchdowns and a signature upset. He gets a game ball. Taji Brooks from Texas Tech, he was a heart of the Red Raiders' deep offense. He gets a game ball. CJ Donaldson, running back. West Virginia, short yardage dynamo, who gets a game ball for the Big 12. And man, with the season nearing this end, Iowa State remains in the thick of the conference race, while Baylor and Kansas gain momentum for bowl positioning. And how Kansas has 6 losses on the season, I still can't understand. Colorado's loss to Kansas at Arrowhead only muddies the Big 12 race even more. Texas Tech's shootout victory just highlighted the depth of the conference that just a couple of weeks ago, Texas Tech was playing spoiler. And even unranked teams like Kansas can still give you fireworks. So the Big 12 was pure chaos and controversy by itself in college football's most unpredictable conference. It gave you thrilling upsets. It gave you standout individual performances. And the pulse of this league for the Big 12 is stronger than ever. And with teams losing like Army, Indiana, and more, the Big 12 and ACC has a stake in the college football playoff race, my friend. And college football playoff, the ball is now in your court. It's in your court, my friend. Let's get it. It was a jam-packed episode, and we hit our target goal, 100%. Special shout out to you for watching. Make sure you share this content. That's the only thing I'll ask of you. If it was of value to you in any way, man, make sure you share it with another college football fan so they can know all about what's going on in the world of college football. Make sure you check out thecfbnation.com for all your latest in the college football world, because it keep you connected. Got articles coming out every day, making sure you take care of. Check out VCFB Nation on YouTube, VCFB Nation on Twitter, CFB Nation HQ on IG. And also, if you want to follow me and have more of my takes, analysis, keep up with me on the CFB Nation tour and everything else, all you got to do is follow me on Twitter at CFB Moon. That's CFB Moon on Twitter, and I'd love to connect with you. From your boy Moon, the latest to ever do it. In a jam-packed week of college football, I'm about to be giving y'all constant fire. We got another episode coming up tomorrow, because I still got to talk about the Fun Belt. I still got to talk about the Big Ten, and I still got to talk about the American. Plus, it was more games that went on around the nation. Let's just say it's about to be a jam-packed week for college football nation. Make sure you stay tuned. Keep it locked. And until next time, my friend, we do this all for the love of college football in the world, the wonderful world of college football. For your boy Moon, signing out.